Hello and welcome everyone, it's Shanna. Now today we are working with Simon Hurley's number balloons, and I am creating another decorative piece for my 3-tier tray that's on my dining room table. So we've got the balloons, and I've worked with these once before and I really didn't feel like I did them justice, so I wanted to bring them in and give them another run. And so we're going to make a patriotic card. And we are going to just start stamping up some of our numbers. We're going to do 250 for the 250th year of America's independence, and we're just going to make a red, white, and blue card. So I've got my 2, 5, and my 0. I realize I need to use my anti-static powder tool on this before I get those laid down, because I am going to heat emboss just to add a little bit of shine to our balloons. We're going to heat emboss. So I've got my prize ribbon and my lumberjack plaid, and I'm going to use the lumberjack plaid for the 2. We're going to use white for the 5, and we're going to use the prize ribbon for the blue, and we're just going to have red, white, and blue. Now, I was a little bit curious as to how the white would work out. I'm bringing in my Hero Arts Pigment ink pad that is white, and I'm going to use some white embossing powder on it, and then I'll use clear embossing powder on the other 2. And it did come out all right. It did give it texture, and it gave it the balloon highlight area. I could have just die cut the 5 out with, some white cardstock, but I wanted it to have kind of the interest that the stamp gives to all of the balloons. Now you cannot really see it here on the paper, but it does come out nice, and I don't know if the picture of the card will represent it very well or not, but it does give it the nice texture on the 5 with the white ink, and you can see kind of like that cutout highlight area that is on there like it is on the other stamps as well. So I'm giving it a couple of presses and just making sure I get it pressed down real nice and neat. Now when you use these rubber mount stamps, you've got to take your foam pad out of your MISTI so that you have room for the stamps to lay in there and then to give it a press. I'm going to go ahead and I cut the 5 out of there because I'm going to use the white embossing powder on it, and then the other 2 I'll use the clear embossing powder. I don't know if you hear that, but our storm radio is going off. It's been going off and on all day today. We're under severe weather. So far so good. It's a little bit cloudy, very humid, and a little windy, but no rain or anything just yet. But anyway, it keeps going off in the background. So if you hear that noise, you might not hear it, but I thought I would mention that. So I'm going to get my my white embossing powder put back in the jar, and then we'll bring in the clear embossing powder, and we will just emboss this 2 and the 0 with the clear powder. And so we'll get it laid down on there. I was afraid it might have dried because it had been sitting there for a minute, but it did take the powder nicely, and then it did heat emboss fairly well as well. So we'll just tap all that off. We're going to get our clear embossing powder put away, and then we'll bring in our heat tool, and we will get these numbers heated up and just begin working on our card. So I'm just going to grab it with my tweezers so that I don't burn my fingers, and I'm just wiping off some extra embossing powder that was on there. It won't matter because it was, kind of out of the die cut area in which we're going to die cut. Now you can kind of see the white on the video here. You can definitely see the texture or the dimension from it. And since it was white, I had a hard time telling, did I have it heated up all the way or what? So I just kept kind of running over it until I was sure it was done. And then I'm just going to grab the other 2, and we'll just heat emboss them as well. And it added a nice texture and dimension to the balloons. And we're gonna get to assembling just a really quick card with them. I'm gonna bring in some fun pieces to kind of coordinate with it. We're gonna grab the dies, and we could have added one of the star balloons to it. That could have been fun too, but I knew I had a lot of stuff that I was gonna put on this card. So I'm just gonna go with the 250, and we'll bring in some other elements as well. So we'll get these laid down. I'm going to put some tape on them so that they don't move around, because I've stamped them, I've heat embossed them, and I don't want to have to redo them. So I'll grab some washi tape, and we'll get them taped down, and then we'll run through the die cutting machine. So as I was doing this, I was watching Linda Tomane create, and she was creating some popsicles that were red, white, and blue. And she was talking about the 250th anniversary, and I texted her, or I messaged in the live and told her that I am currently working on a 250th 50th card. So I generally am watching, you know, my YouTube friends as I am creating. It's when you do voiceovers, you can do that. I'll just watch them as I'm going, and it just kind of entertains me. And then, you know, I normally voice over for the most part. Sometimes I'll do some speak through videos, but for the most part of the time I do voice them over, and so that I can cut out all that background noise and just enjoy my friends as I am creating. So I'm going to bring in my Platinum 6 plates, and we're going to get this laid down on there. My Anna Griffith has been just giving me fits lately. I think I just need to break down and just put like a piece of cardboard or something underneath there just to add some extra, you know, pressure on it, because it's just not, it's missing corners and different stuff like that, and it's just aggravating. So I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum 6. Now here I've got the die that cuts the strings for the balloon, and I die cut several times because I wanted different colors. I've got red, blue, and then white, and I was using scraps and just laying it on there. So you can see I've got multiple strings. I don't need all of those, but I want to use one of each color, red, white, and blue. And then I did die cut out 2 additional layers for the 2s, the 5s, and the 0s. I'm just kind of adding some dimension to them and making them really solid numbers for my card. And so we're just going to layer these up. I'm just going to take the time and do it and add some stability to these numbers and just add some dimension without having to use any kind of foam tape. And so we'll just get them all laid down on here. Just giving it a good press. So I've got my window open, and if you hear the little wind chime, that's the little wind chime that I got for Mother's Day from Logan and Wyatt. They had gotten me that. So it's just the breeze is just lightly ringing it outside. Not sure you can pick up on it or not. I can hear it, but sometimes what I hear in the background you guys don't necessarily pick up on. My mic does a pretty good job of kind of weeding some of that noise out. Anyway, I'm going to line this 2 up, and then we're going to get it on there. And now we've got some real good, strong die cut pieces, and we can bring in the other elements to our card. And I think these little balloons are super cute. I love the kind of highlight area that is created with the rubber stamp. Now I am bringing in, this is the Classic Alphabet die, and I thought it would be fun, and we're going to bring in the USA, and I've done the same thing. I've cut a couple of extra pieces out to layer these up. Now with this, I actually used some packaging, and so I've got some pretty thick dimension on it. I've been cutting up kind of I don't keep the packaging for a lot of things because I have a certain way that especially the embossing folders, I don't keep the packages for those. And so I'll take those and kind of cut them up because they're like heavy cardstock. And then you can get some pretty good dimension and not have to use foam if you cut that up. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just layering those pieces on the back of this and adding some dimension to it as well. And we're going to have a USA. And I just kind of reverse the order of the colors so that, as I lay them on there, we've kind of got colors going in different directions here. But I just kept the red, white, and blue theme with everything. In fact, we're even going to create a panel and do some ink blending on it and create a fun panel. And this, I'm not even going to lay this on a card base when I finish it because I've used some heavy Spellbinders cardstock for the background plate, and I'm going to use this to set on my my tiered tray in my dining room along with my other red, white, and blue themed decor that I'm using. And I'm using it, I've already got it decorated. It's going to run probably from Memorial Day through the 4th of July, and then after that I will change to the next season. So I've got my prized ribbon ink, and I'm just using my big Spellbinders blending brush. And for the red, I don't have a red Spellbinders blending brush, so I went and grabbed a smaller one, and I'm just going to lay some red ink down on here, and we're just going to have red, white, and blue striped panel. And I'm getting this panel prepared because we are going to use that embossing folder that is off to the left there. And that is an older embossing folder. It is a 3D one. It's called Wishing Stars, and I thought that would be perfect for what I've got going on here. And so we're just going to go off camera, and we will emboss this with the 3D sandwich, and we've got our embossed plate. We've got all of our elements here, and I'm just going to kind of play around with them. I wind up kind of doing a little bit different pattern than what I'm showing here now. Sometimes you've just got to play around with things and get them like you want them. I'll kind of position it, and then it kind of looks like that's where I'm headed. And then once I lay it down, I go in a completely different direction, and I like how it all comes together. So I was thinking about, maybe if I put them across here, and then I'm like, nope, that's not going to work. And so we'll just keep fiddling around with them. This is part of the creative process. You just have to kind of work with it until you get something that is pleasing to the eye. And so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to do it. But then when I come back in and I lay them down a little bit differently, and I like it much better. So I decided I am going to bring in that Cosmic Sky Spellbinders panel, A2 size panel. So I'm just cutting this down to 4 by 5 1/4, so that I'll have a little bit of blue edge around there, and I'm just going to lay this down on that panel. And I didn't gut it. Normally I will gut it, but since I'm just going to use this as a little panel that's going to sit on the tier tray, I want it to be good and solid, and I don't want you to see a hole in the back of it if you can see it from the other side of the tray. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay it down on there and just use the full A2 size panel. And this is going to be a decor piece for this year, in celebration of the 250th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence. So I'm going to just lay them down here like this, and I'm like, I like this much better. And I'm going to flip it around because I was trying to decide, do I want the blue up there or the white up there? And I just decided red on red, white on white, blue on blue, and to stagger it like that. And this is the design that I decide that I want to go with. And so now all we need to do is we need to add our balloon strings and get them where we want them. Now I know I want the red on the white, and I'm just going to put a different color on each one, and we'll just kind of have a different color going with our balloons. Now I thought about the blue for a minute just because it had the squiggly, and I was thinking I wanted the squiggly in the middle, but then I decided that more squiggly would show on the 2 since it's up higher, and I went ahead and put the blue on the 2, the red on the 5, and then we'll go with the white on the 0, and we won't have much of that 0 showing because it's more toward the bottom. And so this is what we're going to do. And I think this is a fun use of this number balloon set, and I like I said, I worked with it with the Snappy Birthday set, and I don't think I really did the balloons their justice, and so I wanted to kind of give them a video where we're really kind of showing them off, and so that's what I'm doing here. I probably should have snipped these off before I laid them down on there, but I'll bring in some scissors and snip them off, and we won't have any problem with this. I'm actually using my little, those are just little embroidery scissors, but I knew they had just a really, really fine, and that they were real narrow, and I could get them right up next to that panel and get a real good cut on them, so I decided to use them for this, and it worked out fine. I don't really use them that much anyway. They're more decorative than anything. I got them because I thought they were pretty, and I would use them as a backdrop for pictures, and so I wasn't too worried about cutting with paper on them. And this one I'm going to get smart and cut it off ahead. I'll still have to trim it because I don't get it exactly where I want, but I'll put some glue on the back of it so I don't have to lift it up and glue it down, and then we can just trim it off. And I think it's a super fun set. There, I trimmed the red one off. It was hanging down just a little bit past that panel, and I wasn't satisfied with it. Now we're going to get our USA laid down, and we're kind of going to go in the same order that I've got it laying there. And I'm going to get plenty of glue on there because we've got some 3D embossed stars that are going to kind of make everything a little bit wobbly, so we want to get it glued down. I'm trying to position them to where they'll lay a little bit flat and, you know, kind of with the embossed detail. And so I'm going to get my A laid down on there. And then I do have some Cosmic Sky embellishments from Spellbinders, and I'll bring some of those in and we'll add them to our panel as well, just for a little extra shine and interest. So I'm just going to grab some of those, and I can see a little area between my my string and my 5 where I can get several laid down there. So I'm just going to do a line of 3 there and just kind of make a little strip, and then up by between my S and my A, we'll lay a couple more down, and we'll have 5 embellishments on there, and I think it'll finish off this panel really nice. And I was real pleased with how this turned out. It was super fun. I think it's a fun use of the set. And like I said, I'm going to put this on display on my dining room table. So here's a couple pictures. I hope you liked the video. If you do, consider hitting that like. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to grow. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.